I knew too much about the police when I was 14 and 15 in children's homes and foster care. If I ran away from homes, it was the police that came for me. I had too close a relationship to the police outside of me. And the staff around me, they had too close a relationship to the police as well. They mentioned the word police too many times in my presence. It was called care. It was called care. It was called care. And that's kind of Orwellian for me. Because if you can condition me to use the word care, you can then condition me to think that it's normal to use the phrase leaving care as care in itself. Now, as a kid, I'm not daft, you know what I mean? And like words have a thing with them. You'll know that when you talk to your own children, won't you? You know, that if you use a different word, they'll take it differently. So you're quite sure at times to say a particular word so that they receive it in the way that you want it to be received. Because they're firing on all cylinders, because they're intelligent, because they're learning what a word smells like, what it gives off. I spent my entire life in care with people saying to me, I'm in this job because I love children. That's all right. That's all right. 18 years of age, 5 different children's homes, fostered for 11 years. Nobody ever said to me in that time, I'm in this job because I love you. So I became to know myself as a non-person. You could say to me, well, I can't say I love you to a child. I've got to say I love children. I'll tell you what, don't say it. There's a thing. Do it. It's in that research there, love in practice, being there. All the examples, and by the way, I do speak from the privileged position of somebody who's not working with young people in terms of social work. But give me that privilege as somebody who has been in care and somebody who knows not that he is an expert, but knows that thousands of experts have not got it right. So let me just, be wrong. But that idea of leaving... what I was going to say is that a lot of the examples for good practice with kids in care, and I saw them here in the research, it's really simple. It's if the government, or if I'm going to say the government is the parent, then the child in care should be the best example as to how well that government is doing. Above all services, above all services, above all services. These children who then become, how is it that we become demonised? No, but how is that? How is that? I get people saying to me, well, you're not all good. No, we're not all good. And your child is not all good. Your child is all good. I think the examples are in our own family, you see. I think that if we applied some of the things that we apply in families to kids in care, we could really, really get somewhere. Sticking by them, choosing our words carefully. Because I was in the train, no, I've got better examples than that. I was on the train coming up and I thought, social work is not difficult because of the kids. It's got nothing to do with the young people. Social work is difficult because of itself. Because of itself. I think it's actually forgotten that the children are not it. The problems that you have in the offices and in the structures that you've built are not theirs. They're not it. They just came to you and said, help me. How did they then become the problem? Why shouldn't that girl say, screw you education after what she's been through in her flat? That makes common sense. But 20 kids in a building, 10 fire extinguishers. Discuss. yeah, you know, that as soon as a fire extinguisher goes, there's trouble. You're thinking about insurance. You're thinking about this, that, the other, story getting out, this, that, everything, but the fact that 10, 20 children, one children's home, five fire extinguishers, and signs everywhere that say, in case of emergency, break glass. I think a child, and why didn't this happen? That a child in care should be thanked every day for the fact they didn't smash the glass. But they're waiting for the glass to be smashed. My experience of the social services is of a group of people waiting for something to go wrong so that they could find a reason to be there. It all makes sense now. The kid's bad. This has happened. We've got to sort this out. We need a fire. Come on. We need a fire to put out. I speak from a privileged position, don't I? Because there are problems out there. I think that the social services should be so good that kids from middle-class families and parents want their children to go into care, and that it's a social worker's job to stop them from going in there. That's what I think. I'm sorry, I wasn't going to talk about all of this, but I now am doing. I think care should be a place where people want to put their kids in because it's that good. I think that when you come into care, you should get a free laptop. I think you should get, obviously, educate. I think you should have your own Facebook page. I think you should be able to put on pictures of yourself. I think you should be able to take pictures of yourself in the children's home, post them to whoever you want to, however you want to. Health and safety, I can see you all going. Not health and safety, but that's what people do in some families. I actually don't know because but that's where I am, just so you know. And I think that I just wanted to match something to with what you're saying is that if we don't think of kids in care as being the most important thing of our society, because the children of our society are the greatest resource, but if we don't think of kids in care in particular as the greatest example of our compassion, our love, our services, then there will always be, this situation will be circular and it'll happen. Because you're here, aren't you? We were together 25, 30 years ago for National Association of Young People in Care and Blackett in Care, and we see policies right now at the moment reversed. It's a good thing. I had a lot. It happened with the poor houses. I was starting to say this a little earlier on. The social services has got a history, just like a family has a history. And in the poorhouses and the workhouses and the Foundling Museum that all were around in the 1800s where children were taken in and lone mothers and the like, kids were punished with one hand and served with another, told to work, and I think there's this total relationship to how we view children in care now. I think we are seen as bad. We are supposed to be embarrassed about being in care. The only way of reversing the idea of being embarrassed about being in care is to say that care is so good that everybody wants to be in there, period. Is to question every single person that ever puts down a social worker. Not with, oh yeah, it is bad, and oh, I can't, but with, actually, I'm protecting the most important people in this society, so screw you in many ways. You've got everybody against you, the Daily Mail, the Guardian even like people on the street, people that you know. Do you know what else I don't like? The carrying of, the selling of stories. We in care, we have stories. And I see people feed on the stories of kids. Oh, John, you know that kid. You know what happened to him. Let me tell you what happened to him. I'm not talking about therapy here, and I'm not talking about when social workers have to decompress and speak with each other professionally about it. I'm talking about in a staff room. Oh, you know what happened to her? Children's homes, this used to happen to a lot in. Oh, you know what happened to her? She this, and then that happened to her, and then this happened to her, and then she only goes and bloody does what? She doesn't, she does. And where does that lead? Exactly. There's only one thing I can see for her. There's only one thing I can see. See, by doing that, you are party to the problem. Not only are you part of the problem, you're actually making the problem happen. Period. Those stories, you've all got stories in your families and at home, and you don't talk about them to other people like that. We are open for you to feed on us. We need your integrity to hold us in mind all of the time. The moment you spread our story like that, you kill a part of us. You genuinely do. Imagine somebody doing that to you in your family. Oh, well, you know what? I mean, they look well. They look well, but it's not. We're not there to be fed on. And we're not there to feed on ourselves either. So for me, when I say that every child in care is a superhero, and I've said this before, and some of you may not have heard this, but Superman was a foster child. I'm just going to prove to you how far we are away from seeing young people in care as brilliant, as the same way we see our own children, flawed but brilliant. Superman was a foster child, Harry Potter was a foster child, Moses was adopted, Cinderella was fostered, Oliver Twist was fostered, Batman was orphaned. The list is absolutely endless. Think about your studies at your own universities. Think of David Copperfield. Think of the books by Jane Eyre. Think of there's just James Bond, Luke Skywalker. Jesus was from a one-parent family. You know, we could split up into small groups and discuss that. Muhammad, I'll say peace be upon him. I'm not Muslim, but I'll respect the nature. Muhammad was fostered by his grandma. It's in the faith of Buddhism, right at the heart of Buddhism. I think Buddha himself had no parents, but I'm not sure about that. It's in the point is not that all of these things are true, because they are, in terms of them being fiction and non-fiction. How did we not see it? How badly do we think about the child in care? How much are they invisible unless we're offering them a solution? How invisible are they until... what am I saying? How invisible are they that we have not seen that all of these characters in popular culture, in our religions, are related directly to their experience? Cinderella, Superman, Batman. There's loads of them actually. I keep going saying the same ones. There's billions. There's something about us and our society that willfully will not accept the brilliance of the child in care and needs them to be a problem to be solved to prove our prejudice. And you know the best thing about it? Nobody's going to question it. Because everybody's on the outside of that thing. So children's homes don't happen. Kids in care are, the children's home, you know what it's like. And, oh, did you? Were you? Did it? Oh, was it? Oh, God. How many dinners do I have to go to? Was it you? Oh, you were brought up in... I want the day to happen where people are like, oh, you lucky sod. You got the best education. You got the best flaming blah. I tried to get my kids in there, but they wouldn't allow it. No, I'm not kidding. It's a genuine... You can see it, can't you? You can see how it could be like that. That's the aim. That's the aim. It's right up there. And it's possible. And this is to it. It was sponsored by the Huddersfield University. Huddersfield University gave all of the money for this for this incredible, what's it called, scholarship. And incredible. And, I would say here, wouldn't it be great if Leeds University itself set up a scholarship for a care leaver to do a PhD? Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Yeah. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if all of the universities started to echo that same thing, And I'm going to say that, by the way, I'm going to say that in Manchester as well, and I don't expect a direct answer. Yes, Lem, of course, you say the word and we're doing it. But wouldn't it be an incredible thing if West Yorkshire led that practice and then started to knock on the door of Frontline, have you heard of Frontline? You'll have heard of Frontline, but it's an initiative. Anyway, of sorts, of a kind. I'm going to read you a poem. I write poetry, I write books, and write plays, and that's it. And I didn't know I was going to say what I've just said, but I've said it. And it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because it's kind of counter to the narrative. The narrative has got to be something, it's got to be, I don't know, it's all a bit hunchbacked. Not yours, Belinda. But the act of kids in care are brilliant. And starting from there, it's a great thing, isn't it? If your child, your own child, is going through a problem and is acting up, you will want to deal with that from the same place that I've just mentioned, that child is brilliant. And you're going to see them through it, because you know that the teenage years, they go nuts. They change into a different person, yada, yada, yada. But you know they're the same, and you stick by them. I think kids in care are amazing, because they go through that experience and then get moved for being a teenager. Smoking a cigarette suddenly becomes a rejection of the foster family. Having alcohol suddenly becomes a rejection of their family values. I was told when I was put into care at 12, much later on I was told, yeah, but we didn't know where you were from. We didn't know who your parents were. We didn't know. Yeah, it's a classic thing. It's really simple. Child acts up. Foster parents ask questions of themselves and then think, we don't know who his parents are. You become the enemy within. The enemy within, man. You become the enemy within. And then there comes a point where you start to ask yourself, what is it within me that is the enemy within? Got to be me. We're not stupid. We're intelligent. We're emotionally intelligent. We're reading everything all the time, every single rejection. And we're told almost that skill is not a skill. It's actually our fault. Incredible. I really do think that the child in care is the axis, and that if we treat the child in care better, then our society will be a better place. I genuinely believe that. It's right at the root of it all. You can tell I've not got rhetorical skills, can't you? You know what I mean? Because the meat and bones of it is quality. You know what I mean? I'm quality. I'll just read you a couple of poems and then I'll go. I don't know how long I've spoken for. Do you know how long?
Just slightly overland, but it's fine.
Okay, all right. I'll just read two poems and then I'll go.
You're not going. You're staying.
I'll stay. I'm going to read "Invisible Kisses." It's a love poem and it gets read once a week, once a month, somewhere in the world, at a wedding. It does. If there was ever one whom, when you were sleeping, who would wipe your tears when in dreams you were weeping, who would offer you time when others demand, whose love lay more infinite than grains of sand. If there was ever one to whom you could cry, who would gather each tear and blow it dry, who would offer help on the mountains of time, and who would stop to let each sunset soothe your shaded mind. If there was ever one to whom when you run, who will push back the clouds so that you're bathed in sun, who would open arms if you would fall, show you everything if you lost it all. If there was ever one whom when you achieve was there before the dream and even then believed, who would clear the air when it's full of loss, count love before cost. If there was ever one whom when you are cold will summon warm air for your heart to hold, who would make peace in pouring pain, make laughter fall in falling rain. If there was ever one who can offer you this and more, who in keyless rooms can see open doors, and in open doors see open fields, and in open fields see harvests yield, then see only my face in the reflection of these tides, through the clear water, beyond the river's side. All I can send is love, and all that this is, a poem and a necklace of invisible kisses. And I've got to say, I've never read that poem and related it to some of the things that I've just spoken about, ever. And I did then. Thanks very much. You're so lovely. A bit slightly all over the place, but I want to say that counterintuitive thinking is not a bad thing, and it happens in families all of the time, where a child does something and an adult says, yeah, but maybe it was that. And the other one goes, oh, bloody hell, yeah. That doesn't happen to us in care. It's got to be nailed straight away. Counterintuitive thinking is something that happens through creativity. And this is why, as an artist, when I left care, I said, I don't want to be a role model, but I do want to be a poet. And I became what it is that I wanted to be. And I've been supported by social workers, by universities throughout my adult life. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Belinda. It was just beautiful. I'm very proud that everybody here has heard the first ever talk by the first graduate for this particular scholarship, which is the first in the country. You did an incredible job. It made me very proud to see it.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, follow that. Just to introduce myself, I'm Margaret House. I'm Vice Chancellor at Leeds Trinity University, Chair of Heart. I'm very proud to say a child-friendly Leeds badge. Ambassador. Wow, what an evening. I can honestly say I haven't had such a stimulating, thought-provoking and indeed challenging two speakers as we have had this evening. And there's more to come, but can I just say, Belinda, let me echo what Lem has said. Gosh, as someone who didn't have much self-belief, that was an amazing presentation. The work you're doing is fantastic. I can't wait to read the theses and for you to kind of come and talk to my staff in terms of what we should be doing. And Lem, in response, I will pledge with the cameras on that Leeds Trinity University will sponsor a care leaver.
You were here.
So if I can ask our speakers to come and join us at the front. I'm sure you don't particularly need me to chair this session, but we now have the opportunity to ask more questions of them all. So over to you.
I don't know why I'm here.
Please.
I'd just like to say to Len and Belinda that on behalf of all the young people at the back row today, that was an inspiration, and you took the words right out of all of our mouths, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Oh, no. Have you ever seen Police Academy, by the way?
Whilst we're waiting, Len, there are 2 more universities in Leeds,
Right.
so we could do with another couple of places.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Belinda, I've just got a bit of a question. It just seems very disappointing that the university in some way didn't support the young lady as she was leaving, because your comments were specifically about the local authority not supporting.
Yeah.
Also, no sense that the university supported her in a decision before she left.
It was also, I mean, I only could focus on a couple of points during that presentation, but yes, there were people at that particular higher education. She just found that she couldn't, every time she went to access it, it never seemed to work for her. She found out the name of the person, sent them an email, they didn't respond, sent them another email, they didn't respond. And she exhausted every single option. And just near to the end, she did go to a university and say, I've not got any money. She told them again at the end, at the Christmas time. They said the next day, they were going to try and help her. But then when she went home, she had no more money to go back. Family had been helping her because she was one of the only ones with a strong family connection. And they'd been supporting them. There was just no more money. She just decided then that she needed to, she couldn't do it, unfortunately.
It sounds disappointing from the universities that any student, no matter whatever their background, would leave because of no financial support.
But it's particularly, can I just say, because I've not heard my voice for a bit now, so but it's very particular, isn't it? It's a child in care's experience rather than any young person. It's very particular. I think you mentioned a great thing there. You said personalised. What was that? Personalised?
Individual, personalised support packages.
Personalised support packages, and she obviously didn't have that.
No.
Is that right?
That's right. She didn't have that kind of, neither local authority or university sat down with her and told her what she was entitled to. And unfortunately, from knowing of that particular local authority and knowing of that university, they have supported other people. And they have greatly, been there for the people during financial hardship and emotional hardship, but not for this particular person.
Can I just chip in there? We are, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are members of the National Network for the Education of Care Leavers, and I know there are quite a few members in the audience here as well. And the National Network is very much about trying to get the levels of support more consistent. So the comments that Belinda has made through her presentation tonight, we're trying to find some form of consistency across the whole country so that all universities, all FE colleges are looking at how they can actually support children in care, care leavers. I know that perhaps that's not the right phrase.
That's the term I used, by the way, because
yeah,
there's no
other that really works.
Yeah.
And that sort of process is there. And my personal belief is, and I think this goes along what Lem's been saying, if we can get it right for care leavers, that benefits every single student in the system. Because if it's right for care leavers, that benefits the person from the middle class, the upper classes as well, who have the privileges already. They benefit from that process. So I think we're striving through the national network to try and make that happen. And it can be an uphill battle. I'm looking across at Megan in particular. It can be an uphill battle at times, can't it, Megan?
It can.
We're knocking on the doors. We're knocking on the doors.
At the back, and then I thought you had another question.
I did, but I feel like I missed it. I was just going to say in regards to education, I'm a project officer for Leeds City Council, and I go around promoting young people's voices. And I think one of my struggles growing up in care was actually what Belinda said, that actually, yeah, you took my mum, you took my dad, you 13 of all my brothers and sisters, and the only thing that I had left was my education. And I sort of got my back up and put the message out you took everything else, you are not taking my education. And with that, I did go on to do my GCSEs, go to college, and I started university. So, and now I'm in this job, so I feel very, very lucky to be where I am now. and it's about promoting that message and getting it out. If I can do it, then anybody can do it. And just because you come from a bad starting line doesn't mean you have to end your life at a bad point either. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Belinda, I just wondered if you found much evidence in your research of other organisations helping the young people that you were talking to, so not just the local authority or the university. Were there other significant organisations?
There was other independent agencies. I can't obviously give their names
Yes.
and really go into it too much, but there were often, if they didn't have support from the local authority or from the university, there'd normally be another agency that was there that was helping them, and it's usually ones to do with maybe disabilities and things like that, and that would normally be the other agency, and young carers was quite a big one too.
Hi, I'm Ibrahim Maynard. Two things. I've come actually in place of someone called Phil Slack, who is a specific worker who's from our Bradford local authority, who works with care leavers specifically at university. I don't know if Leeds has that or Huddersfield or any of those. It's something we need to really think about, because we actually have two workers now. We have 1.5 or nearly 2 workers, because we have about 33 care leavers at universities in different all over the country. And I think that's helped quite a lot, really. Just going back on to me personally, I was in care, as Len quite rightly said, for many, many years. And I was moved about quite a lot, about 12 different children's homes and foster homes, and I was a doctor when I was young, which I only found out late in life. And you know, I was moved out so much, I actually came to Leeds actually, and I missed school. I went to St Mary's School, if that's still open, and I missed school for quite a while because I couldn't decide whether I was going to go back to Bradford or stay in Leeds. It was this thing of, what am I doing? But I missed so many months of school. So when I actually left care, it was like, I haven't done anything really. And I became a gardener and that. But eventually I knew that I had my passion back in wanting to support young people, as I said, as Lem said. I was involved in an organisation called Blacking in Care and National Association of People in Care. And I wanted to try and put something back into the system. So I actually thought, I want to go back into it. And I went through youth work. And one interesting thing actually, my social worker said to me, well, don't go working in children's homes, have some space for us, have some time out. And I actually think that was a good advice in a way, really, because it gave me that space to actually, well, become a garden, play with flowers and that. But it gave me that time out, and then I went into youth work and looked at that perspective, and then went into social work. And I did the diploma in social work when I was about 28, I think, quite long. But actually, my thing was, why did I have to wait all that time to do that? Because my education was quite poor, and I did the old type CSEs sort of stuff. But the thing to me was, I achieved it. I got a diploma in social work, I did very well, and that was fine. And I've done connections, diploma in connections as well. So I've got certain things. I'd like to do a scholarship, I suppose, eventually. And I've got a friend who I thought about here, Darren Coyne.
Yeah, I thought Darren was going to be.
He was interested in criminology and all that issue, because that's a big issue as well for young people doing care in terms of criminology and issues around how are they made criminals.
And rocket science.
Yeah.
And astronauts.
Quickly respond to a couple of things there. You mentioned Phil Slack over in Bradford, who's a great supporter and a help to heart. And we set up a network system with the 5 West Yorkshire local authorities, where the local authorities come together with our partners, independent fostering agencies, etc. And from the first meeting that we had, Kirklees Council now have a similar person to Phil, so they copied that. I know that Rob Murray is trying desperately to get something similar in Leeds if he can, but obviously all the budget cuts, etc. We come back to Lem's thing about, you know, this is the most important thing. Maybe we need to have another go at Leeds City Council about budgets here. So that is certainly something that I would agree with you. I think it's incredibly important. The second thing that I'd like to come back on, I'm hogging it now, Lem, sorry.
Go on.
The second thing I'd like to come back to is this issue about coming back into education, higher education later on in life. I failed all my A-levels dismally because I played poker in the school library. And I came back in, Margaret's now going to sack me. It's the truth, Margaret. I came back into higher education later on, and I think that gap out from education actually did me an awful lot of good, because I came back and learnt when I was ready to learn, and really took passion in it. And now I just adore learning, and I want to do learning all the time. I wouldn't have done that, I think, if I'd gone straight to university at the age of 18, because I wasn't ready for it. So, and I think that applies to all kids, all people. You know, the door's not closed. We're happy to take mature learners at any point, any age. You had Bill at Leeds Trinity, in the 89, graduated last year or the year before last. You want into it?
Sorry, there was here and then.
Mine is more like a comment, really. I want to say a big thank you for the fact that I've just heard you two speak. I'm not in care, I've not gone through that experience, but I do work with children and I do a lot of voluntary role. It's really good to hear it from you two, because sometimes when you're not in that position, you probably don't know what people go through. And this is, for me, it's an eye-opener, because working with children, when you don't really know what they're going through, you don't know their experience, comments, as you said, do go a long way. And at least for me, it's an eye-opener to say, okay, if this child see me, how I could behave differently. Though I haven't experienced it, but what positive thing can I do to make that child's life a lot easier, a lot better? And for that, I'll say thank you.
I mean, it's sometimes as well, it's just the little things, isn't it? It's the kind word. It's just, it doesn't take a lot to change somebody's life or to change their outlook. And that sometimes is, a lot of people talk about something that someone said to them and it stayed with them. And it's quite a powerful message for us all.
Hi, I'm from we represent 5 universities in the North East. I just wanted to pick apart a little bit about what you said about mentoring. Like, that's really, really powerful. We do a lot of work with looked after young people in the North, and we have a programme with about 60 care leavers that come and engage with us. But we really try and get current university students who are care experienced to come and speak to the younger generations to inspire them. But we really struggle sometimes to get the current university students to want to engage, and I just wondered if you've got any hints and tips. How do we pull them out of the woodwork and make them feel that they want to help inspire the future generations?
It's quite difficult because it's got to be
I
their,
realise that's really difficult.
it's got to be their choice.
Yeah.
And again, we can't be taken away, again, choice and agency from people. But it's just about talking about the benefits that the next generation will get from that, and knowing, but again, what Len said, not everyone wants to be a role model.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants that, not when they come out, but some people will. I've met many people that want to advocate, that are care leavers like myself. There will be, I'm not, you know, I know that you're struggling, but there will be that one person along the way, and I think it's sometimes you do need to just maybe send a few emails a couple
What
of times.
inspires you? If I was going to send you an email to say, we've got 60 15-year-olds coming in 6 weeks' time, how would we get you to come on? Anyway, I know it sounds really hard, but we struggle sometimes, because sometimes we've got Megan, she's got great relationships.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, but sometimes I feel like we're just sending emails and it's boring and we don't know how to engage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you were asking. Is there? So you were asking about students current students then talking to other people about who are care leavers about blah blah blah. Well, what the care leavers' needs are quite possibly in the university. They're quite possibly not, but they could be answered there. So I would, if I was saying this to a student, I would say talk to them about the life of a student. Like the full works, the partying, the working hard, the sense of community, the sense of new friends, the challenge of it, the fear of it, overcoming the fear, a new city, and what happens to people after university? They go and they go out around the world and they form new communities or they join new communities, etc. I would talk about it as a lived, exciting learning experience, because that's actually what it is. So, you know, you need to think about what university really is to a person, to any child, any young person, and sell it like you're selling whatever. Do you know what I mean? And if you would, just to put that into a thing, but I would sit down with students and I would do I would go through some bullet points. The life of a student, honestly, you know.
So would you be paying them? Because
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, depending on the student. Sometimes we get students, like current care, experienced students that are so keen, like Belinda, to help and inspire these younger groups. And sometimes we try different tactics. Sometimes we'll just send an email to say, we'd love you to talk about your experience and get excited and say what's and all this, what universities are like. And sometimes we do completely the other tack and say, this is the job, this is the money, what do you want? Because some people don't want to be seen as care experience, they just want to be seen as normal.
Sorry, you talking about care experienced students talking to care
Yes.
leavers? Yeah, well, I would do that then. I would do it as if the care experienced teenager is actually a student, which is what they are,
Yeah,
and sell the university or sell the idea of what it is to be truthfully a student, because it's a great life being a student. You know, I run a Christmas dinner. I've got to say this. I've put together a Christmas dinner. I think Christmas is a very particular time. Christmas dinner for care leavers. It's all voluntary. Everybody puts in. Universities have got lots of venues. Christmas Day is probably one of the most intense times for a young person in care. It's amazing how we've not recognised that. I don't know why I'm saying that, but it's very difficult to organise, and I get what you're going through.
Mainly for Lemon, Belinda, but maybe for the rest of the panel as well. Two concepts. One, resilience, and you talked about your earlier life experiences and some of the life experiences of the young people and some later life experiences. So you know Mike Steen will talk about resilience quite a lot. And so the first part of the question is, where do you think you got your resilience from if you have that resilience, which you know, obviously you seem to have? Okay, and the second thing is my own concept, which is about a significant person. And I think we tell you your social worker is, we tell you your personal advisor is. Can you think of one significant person who has been kind of there to mentor you? We talked about peer mentoring, it could be a peer, it could be a teacher. Can you think of one specific person who could have been that significant person through your care experiences and later life?
Okay, shall I go first? So resilience, and I think for myself that I developed that ability to be able to bounce back because I had things around me that didn't let go of me, that no matter how much I played up or whatever my situation was, I always had the tools around me to be able to, when I did want to apply myself, that I could. They didn't let go. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that they were there. But also, I mean, it had to come from me, there had to be something within me, and I think a huge impact for me was seeing the people around me and their lives not going exactly, it wasn't going the way I wanted it to be, and I think sometimes it's going to be incredibly personal, but there are things that we can do, like being there and making sure that the support is consistent and stable and not just there at one point when things are all going really bad, you know, there when it's good too.
Mm-hmm.
And on the point for the significant person, I have been fortunate that I've had several significant people that have supported me. One of the main people I'll go from sort of social worker to leaving care worker because it's quite applicable to everybody here, but my social worker that I first got just would sit down and talk to me about actually what was going on, and would sit and go through things and not just sugarcoat it and say, well, this is what this is what we're doing, and they didn't just make it about surviving, which I find that often happens with social services. It wasn't just about, well, we need to get you a house, we need to get you in a house, we need to find, you know, make sure you've got this, this and this. He made it about my education as well. He made it about where I saw myself in 5 to 10 years and planning for that. And then adding on to that, my leaving care worker was great. She just carried that on. She just, I mean, I had one after that, and it didn't work as well, but this particular person, who I still keep in touch with now, showed me care. She showed me that she loved me for who I was. And although, like, it is difficult, that showing that, especially around ethics and around our own professional roles, she still went the extra mile for me, and she still she never gave up on me. She was one of the people I stormed out of, the social worker was too, out of the car, and thought, you know, I'm not listening to you people. And I fought so hard against these, and they never left me. They never let go. Even though I was so, at that time, people would have described me as troubled, and all I wanted to do was go and find the next bottle of vodka, and that's all I wanted. And they just didn't leave me, which I think that's the main thing for me, really.
That's so lovely. Yeah, retrospectively, I had a social worker called Norman who went into my file. Actually, coincidentally, I had a bad one called Norman, but I had a good one called Norman, who, when I left care at 18 years of age, he said it's been a bit of a car crash up until now, but somebody did love you, and he went into my files and he took out letters of my mother pleading for me back in 1968, shortly after she had me fostered for a short period of time while she studied, but I was never given back to her. And I think he became a friend. He's become a friend in my adult life because it's really simple, because he's been the proof of what happened to me. Because everybody else was so peripatetic, they were all onto their own jobs and the next blah. So I realised when I left care that I didn't know anybody for longer than a year. I didn't know anybody who could piece my entire story together. Everybody coped with me at different times, but there was no through line. So, you know, an old family is a group of people proving that each other exists over a lifetime. All family is a group of disputed memories between one group of people over a lifetime. And I didn't have anybody to dispute the memory of me. And so he could do that. He could say, no, you were right, you weren't crazy. You know, and he's since said to me, you know, they should never have done this to you. Never have done that, you know, etc., etc. I complained about that, but you know. So he's my proof of what went wrong. He's since left being a social worker. So I think he's the one that I would say, yeah, there was one person. It's him. And what was the other question? Resilience. I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have resilience at all. I've sort of got through in spite of myself. Really, which is okay, but that's the truth. I don't know if I've got resilience. I've got very thin skin, you know. But then so what, you know? But I don't know whether I've got resilience. I don't know. I don't know. I just know. But I do know this: that when I saw a lie, I wasn't having it, because I thought all I've got is the truth. So if I heard a lie. Look at the words like care and care leave, words that I use as well because there's no other words. But I was like, there's something not true about this and something not genuinely true about this. This person does not want to really be with me going through this at this moment in time. And I could pick it up. And I don't think it served me that well, except for, yeah, anyway, blah.
We're running out of time, so I'd just like to ask a question of Ian and Salim in terms of, from what we've heard this evening, what Ian are you taking away for heart that we should be doing in terms of furthering these causes and helping with these transitional experiences? And Salim, similarly for you in terms of either child-friendly Leeds or in terms of Leeds City Council? So, Ian?
For me, I think it's redoubling our efforts. I think our partners have made huge strides over the last 2 years. They were already doing quite a lot of good work anyway, and I think Huddersfield epitomises that with the scholarship. I think Leeds Beckett epitomise it with many, many years of hard work on the issue of giving the right support for care leavers, and I think that probably explains why Leeds Beckett and University of Huddersfield have more care leavers studying for them than perhaps, in fact, I know, than all of the rest of our partners put together. I think it's through that effort that they've made, and it is great that people like Leo, who's not been mentioned this evening, sat on the front row, who is the named individual for care leavers to contact at Leeds Beckett, has made the offer.
Actually, I've got to correct that. I was until recently.
Oh, sorry. Right.
Yeah, we do have one.
Sorry, it's Joe Gibson. Sorry, stand corrected. But Leo has made the offer to all our Leeds partners, working with the local authority in terms of the Next Step and the Stepping Stones programme, for all the partners to actually contribute to that programme so that we're working collaboratively in Leeds. And And the plan is that we can sort of learn from that and share that amongst the partners, so that then moves out to Huddersfield and Kirklees College and Wakefield College and Bradford University, etc. So I think it's redoubling our efforts, recognising that we're not good enough, that there is always more to be done, challenging the likes of people such as Margaret, which is not always an easy thing to go to Vice-Chancellors and challenge them. Margaret is much easier perhaps than some to do it with, but I think well, you're open to being challenged, Margaret, I think, and readily do so. So I think, you know, perhaps I need to take courage from Lem and from Belinda and go and challenge a few of the senior brass a little bit more and see if we can't get scholarships at Leeds Beckett, University of Leeds, Bradford, etc. And let's see if we can make West Yorkshire the first place, Lem.
Okay, so
Yeah, if you know me at all, then you'll know that I speak a lot. So for me today, one of the things I've been keen to do is not to speak a lot, is to listen. And because we're in such exalted company, part of what we're really trying to shape here in Leeds is that listening bit, is listening to the voice of children and young people, and listen to what they say, and then act on what they say. And I think that comes through really, really strongly in the stuff that Belinda talked about. And we've got a little bit of a mantra going at the moment, which is about doing the simple things well. And I think that some of that came through. You know, I remember experiences of being a social worker and just driving my kids in the car because they'd be sat looking forward and stuff would just come out, and that was the point to do that, to just listen. And I think that we can not do enough of that. I think our challenge becomes, having listened to all of that, is to start to hand over some of the power. That's the big challenge for us, is about how do we say we're going to give you decision-making responsibility, because there's something about starting to shift how we really work. The other thing I just want to kind of link to Paul's point there around the resilience bit is I worked with a 9-year-old girl who was in care when I was first a social worker, and she had been through horrendous time, lots and lots of placements, and I, as the social worker, decided that she was going to have to make one further move because it wasn't okay for her where she was living. Did a lot of work with her, talked to her a hell of a lot, and we made that move, and found this foster placement. Thought it was going to be the place that, if it was going to work for this young person, this is where it was going to work. And it did for quite a number of years, but eventually it didn't. Many years later, in my current job, I sit as, and I'm the agency decision maker for adoption. And I was reading some papers around adoption, and I read this story, and as I read this story, I saw how it was. And what was described was this person who was an alcoholic, aggressive, violent, all of this stuff that was listed in the report. And I could see nothing but that 9-year-old kid that I met. That's all I could see. And my message to my workers is always, when you're facing that, you have to understand where it's come from. It's our job to step to one side and understand the journey that person has taken to get there. And Lem, if you see Lem's TEDx video, in it he talks about the fact that when we're the parent, then we should allow for kids to kick and scream and swear and shout, and at the end of that journey we will be there for them. And I just think those are such strong lessons for us. I want to take that into the work that we do every day.
thank you. I have 2 final questions, and I'll ask both the questions, if you can be as brief as possible, and the answers as brief as possible. So,
I'm not really sure if I expect a quick answer to this. I work for Sal in his team, in the Child Friendly Leeds team, and I do business engagement. So I go to businesses and I ask them what they could do to support young people in care. And I don't necessarily deal with care leavers, I deal with younger children, but an overarching aim for me is around turning the curve so that at an earlier stage in life, people are given opportunities to have the best education possible, access to hobbies, all the things that I would hope for my own children. And what I find is that there's no shortage of goodwill from different people, but there's often a kind of an unknowingness about what is best. And so, Lem, you mentioned you like the best package in terms of every child having a laptop or access to therapy or whatever it is. And I would really benefit from hearing from young people about what would make their lives better, so that when I go to the businesses I can talk from a position of knowing rather than assumption. And I appreciate that we haven't got long, so maybe we can pick that up at a later time. But I'd be very, very keen to hear from people who go through it.
Thank you. The lady at the front.
It's not really a question, it's more of a kind of point going on giving young people a voice. Unfortunately, the person I have with me is quite shy, so she's not raising her voice. But I've had the privilege of working with Crystal Ward, who is has experience with the care system. She's actually, I've had the privilege of working alongside her to develop a personal development program for those that have experience of working in care. It's building self-esteem, confidence. She can definitely explain it a lot better than I can because it's her project. But yeah, she's developed this amazing program. If you want more information about it, it's based in Leeds. Crystal will be here. She has flyers and posters, and I'm sure she's more confident in speaking to you face to face than to a big group of people. But I just wanted to get that out there because she's doing brilliant things within Leeds as a care leader. Yeah, just welcome it out there.
Could I just ask then, because sometimes conferences you get a list of sort of attendees and their job roles, is that something that we could
I'm
have?
sure we'll circulate that.
To help if we want to know.
If anyone doesn't want their name sharing, please let David on the front row here know. Otherwise, yes, we can circulate the list of contacts to people, but please let David know if you don't want your contact details shared.
Very, very final comment.
It's not a question, I just want to say, as young people, the message that we like to get across is we have to stick with it in care. So as professionals, we'd like you to stick with it, as challenging as it can be at times.
Thank you. And thank you all. Could you again show appreciation?
Can I just remind you of the postcards, the pledge cards that we asked you to fill in. If you can either leave them on the seat, leave them on the table at the front so that we can collect them in. We have got some case studies from care leavers studying at some of our partner universities, one of which is entitled I Hate Christmas, Lem.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
But it turned out good for him in the end, through education. And before folks go, the people who presented for us, can we just present over, please? Whoops. To Belinda. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah.
What have you got for me? Chocolate?
No, a little something for you to read and do an ode for us one day.
Right.
And Salim, just to release the inner child in you every day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Please feel free to mill and network the rooms here. There is still sandwiches and drinks